Welcome to the groundbreaking podcast that promises to be your beacon in today's complex world. The modern man's quest, spiritual health, social justice, and healthy relationships. Can you feel it? It's like stepping into a sanctuary where wisdom reverberates, justice glows, and love flourishes. Breathe in deeply. That's the invigorating scent of transformation in the air. Are you parched for justice, hungry for spirituality, and yearning for relationships that don't just exist, but truly thrive? If so, you've clicked on the right link. Ready to plunge deeper? Then hit the subscribe button. But don't stop there. Take your commitment to the next level by joining the community, our exclusive network of like minded individuals seeking spiritual elevation, social transformation, and relationship nirvana. Want even more? Become an elite member of the Diamond Club, where you'll get early access to episodes, exclusive content, and interactive sessions with our stellar lineup of guests. So go ahead, join the community and the Diamond Club today. Be more than just a listener. Become an active participant in this transformative quest for spiritual health, social justice, and thriving relationships. Your modern day quest starts here right now. Welcome aboard. So, that being said, I want to go ahead and just bring our entire panel on board and make sure that everybody understands where we're going, because I like to start off with questions. I like questions, and I hope you like questions as well. So, first question, gentlemen, that I have for you. Wait, I'm sorry. Wait, hold on. Wait, we got a superstar in the house tonight, y'all.
Oh,
Listen,
this guy. What's up, fam?
what's up, bro? Listen, man, I want to introduce to you guys my good friend, Saul Robinson. I've known Saul for some years, man. He used to be my workout partner. Notice he's a whole lot bigger than I am, so you guys
This
can
dude.
almost imagine how hard it was to work out with this dude. So, Saul,
I'm buying to it.
before we get started, man, do me a favor and kind of introduce yourself to everybody so they can have a pretty good understanding of who Saul Robinson is.
Hey, how's everybody going? My name is Saul Robinson. Been doing D. We go back what as far as what was it? '08
Yeah, I think so.
at Fort Hood, Texas. We're banging it out for about 2 or 3 years together. I've done 20 years in the military. I was a combat engineer for 10. I was an intel guy for 10. Did a couple things in DC. Worked out in Vegas for a while. Contracted for the military. I'm still contracted to the military. This is one of the spooky shirts they give us to wear. Work out one of the test ranges. Fitness has been my life. It's been my hobby. But outside of fitness, my biggest joy has been helping people and kind of mentoring people to really look outside of the small things. Actually, look at the small things and take a look and see how they're affecting your life. But fitness has always been my network in getting people to open up and relax. Believe it or not, to go through the grueling parts of fitness and really look at what's preventing them from staying healthy. It's not always just the food we eat. It's the state of mind, the negative people you're around. Tons of things that could go into that. But um, I own Merck Fitness Asylum here in Huntsville, Alabama. We've been active for about 2.5 years. It's actually a conventional gym. We have kickboxing, we have yoga, we have Zumba, and uh, that's it. I don't know if
Man,
that's enough,
no,
man.
no, you good, brother. You good. And again, welcome to the show, man. It's an honor to have you here. And I'm just gonna
Thank you for
put you
having
out
me.
there. I'm gonna put you
Okay,
out there on Front Street, man.
let's
I'm going
go.
to ask that he continues to be a part of the show, a regular part of the show. But we'll dive into more detailed conversations about about that later,
Okay,
man.
okay.
So what I want to do, man, is I just kind of want to throw a question out there and just give everybody the opportunity to answer this question as we get started on this conversation about men's spiritual health, social justice, and healthy relationship. So, are we as men losing our way in the pursuit of success, forgetting what really matters: spiritual well-being, the fight for justice, and quality relationships?
Is that just an open question?
It's an open question, man. Whoever have at it first.
Okay, I'm gonna pull the trigger. I think that's a loaded question. That's a lot. I think that I think it's easy to kind of lose your way sometimes, but hopefully, people find a strong network. As I get older, I tend to distance myself, not cut people off, but distance myself from people that really didn't, they don't mean me, they don't have my best interest in mind. So um, I'm always trying to be a giver. I'm always trying to be the example. Um, there's so many times where certain men, you could say black men, are perceived a certain way, and it's all in how we project ourselves. Not to say that we have to dress a certain way or look a certain way, but I think it kind of ties into who you are as a person. The first time you meet a person, you don't have a second chance to make that first impression. So I always live by that, and I try to tell my friends my network is very small, and me and the guys that I surround myself with, we're really focused on family life, taking care of our kids, bettering our kids, seeing our kids do better than do better than what we did. So I'm not really answering every part of that question, but for the part as far as losing yourself, it's easy to do, and I think yes, I think some people do lose their way, but hopefully you have a strong network that can help you, resurface and come back around.
I agree, Ho. Were you trying to say something, Dwayne? Okay. I think we aren't, if you take out that word men and just put males in there, I think that would apply, because when you're talking about men, men actually step up to the plate. Men are in pursuit of success. Men don't forget what really matters. Now, grown boys, grown adolescent young people that are male, they may forget about those things. They may not look at the prize, or they may look at the prize as being uh, money, as being just the success, and forget about family and forget about structure and broadening the horizons of everybody in their environment and pulling up their circle. So I don't think that men are. I think that when you get older, you have less of a tolerance for foolishness, which isolates you and puts you in a circle that's very small versus you being with running with the crowd.
I would say no. And here's why. We as men just found out that it was okay for us to be successful. And we just figured out that it was okay to define what success is to us. You understand what I'm saying? Like, everybody has their own definition of it. Some people's version of success would be having a whole bunch of money and being able to do what they want to do financially and bring other people around. Some people's version of success is reaching a point in their life where they can actually have quality relationships and actually have an opinion in the fight for justice. And so I'm saying some people's it varies, but I would say no, only because it just now became cool for us to be successful and walk in it and not have to worry about what anybody else says about it.
Man, I agree with what all these brothers said. But I would say for me, I kind of teeter totter in between the lines of yes or no in this aspect, right? And primarily because of the spiritual well being, I think we are in a time now to where men, but people as our people as a whole are starting to figure out the spiritual aspect, right? Because spiritual well-being may seem like you have good spiritual well-being, but if you are gravitated or attached to something that is not the truth, then is more damaging than it is well-being. So I think now people are in search. So I don't know if it's more of a lost sight of that aspect, or is it a I don't really know where to go, and I don't know who to trust and who to follow. And this is just what I get when I talk to people. Y'all know I like to talk to people. um, and this is the answer that I get, especially mostly from men. The women seem to find wherever they stand, and they go towards it. But a lot of men are in a place to where it's like, well, where do I go? So even though it seems like we lost sight of our spiritual well-being because we may not do a specific thing, but I think some men are in search for that. But when it comes to the idea of, and I feel the same way about justice, so I'm not gonna really hawk on that too much either, because I agree with what Chris said. I think we're at a point to where our generation of men finally see it's okay to have a position, even when it's not the common acceptable position, especially for men that look like us, to stand and say this. Like, I have to choose a side. I can't pick my own place to stand on the matter. And now we're at a place where we're like, yes, you can pick your place. And relational, that one for me is kind of more of a yes, because I feel like more men, we feel like when our masculine energies come together, somebody has to alpha over the other alphas sometimes, or only get into circles where we can dominate, or you know what I'm saying? It's okay for healthy competition, but where do I fit in? You know, I I'm about to be funny, but not be funny, right? I now with the new edition, I'm on the panel with a brother with a smooth voice, a brother with a preachy voice, a brother with a passionate voice, and now a brother with a deep Barry White voice. You know, and so now it's like, do I try to be more deep and more heavy than him, or more smooth than Coach? No, I got to find my voice.
Boy, be yourself.
Nah, I'm being funny, man. I'm just being funny. Nah, but
No, but see, I get what you're saying though, because we're now at a point where it's okay for us to be ourselves and actually walk in being ourselves without having to worry about anybody else's opinion about it, or having to down somebody else to raise ourselves up. Anecdotally speaking, I'm seeing more men put in positions of, I'm seeing more men that are put in good, like quote unquote good positions, for lack of a better term, bringing more men in to put them in better positions. You understand what I'm saying? So I get what you're saying.
I think that's where I would I'm sorry, somebody about to say something?
Well, I'd like to interject in
Yeah.
in that statement, and I think here's what I see, and here's the growth for me is when I can see my friends doing good, and sometimes double what I'm doing in terms of finances, and I'm okay with that, and I'm happy to keep assisting them to keep growing. Oh man, what are you doing? Why are you stopping now? You could do this, and still double up. Man, aren't you upset that he's doing better than you? If that's my friend, why would I be upset? If that's my circle, why would I be upset? My time is going to come. It may not be just at that moment, but the circle keeps growing because we're all feeding each other. We're trying to network. We're trying to make sure we continue to grow. I think that's where a lot of people lose themselves, but because they're trying to compare themselves to what the next guy's got, and how I can be better than him, instead of saying, you know what, that's my boy. Let me help him grow. My boys, if I know that's my friend, if he's able, he will. But if he can't, cool. I still got to keep growing in my own way. But that's the competition thing. I think I just wanted to throw that aspect out there. I think that's what kills a lot of people, and throws them off track. They compare themselves to what the next guy's doing. He doesn't have the same vision, same drive as me. So why am I comparing myself to him?
I like that. That kind of reminds me of what Zig Ziglar said, right? The more you help people get what they want, eventually you'll get what you want. That all applies unless you are Saul Robinson's workout partner. Just being funny.
Yeah,
The double up thing is real, man. That dude will push you
dude.
to your limit. But I
Hey,
appreciated that.
we got to go.
We gotta go. We gotta go. Um, I like what everybody is saying, and for me, I want to look at it in reverse. Going back to what Chris said, I think a lot of times the struggle becomes we don't necessarily know who we are, especially as men. Right? We have an issue with the identity because of the complexion of my skin, and then when you add to it the identity of who I am as a man, and some of us, we did not have the luxury of growing up in a house with a father, so we did not necessarily have that model to follow, that role model. So we had to go find an uncle or somebody of that nature. And so when it came down to relationships, we may have had some issues within the space of that, because the only thing we had to go off of is probably what we've seen on TV or what somebody else in the family has done, or modeled for us to behave in. then bringing into the spiritual aspect, spinning off of what Brother Gaddy said. And welcome, brother. I'm sorry I didn't welcome you to the show. Um, and spinning off of what he said, I like what he is saying, because now you look at it from the perspective of, we are a community. We go to church all the time, and then you look at what is being taught in the church and what you're witnessing in the church, and you don't necessarily see certain things. And so now what you're experiencing is you got word, but the word may be tainted, it may be jaded, it may be, coming from a misguided perspective. And so now I'm trying to bring that into my life. And now I may be at the point to where I'm trying to raise a family and battling my understanding of what spirituality looked like versus her understanding of what spirituality looked like. Because you got to realize her upbringing was different than mine. You see what I'm saying? So now we're trying to figure out that happy medium. And then we get to the other gates where, you're wanting to give to society, not necessarily give back, but just give to society. So now social justice becomes an important step, because prior to, I didn't really care what was going on as long as it wasn't knocking on my front door. Now it's different. Now we're at the point to where the community is important, what our people are doing, what my brothers and sisters are doing, and all of that other great stuff. So I think this is a problem that exacerbates over the periods of time in a person's life. And then sometimes if that person never got to the point to where they became intentional about what they're doing in their life for others, then they get to the point of what I tend to call, what do you call it, remorse. They get to the point of remorse and they start reflecting back in their life and saying, I could have done that. I should have done that. I could have done more. And I think this is a key thing to digest when it comes down to the psyche of a man, because every man wants to understand his worth. Just how I see it. So thank you, gentlemen, for your awesome points. I think we had a question that we wanted to grab and bring to the table as well. Um, this is a good one. So Michelle Ray wants to know, how is success defined from a man's perspective?
I'll jump on the bullet first, or on the grenade first on this one. And now I'm gonna preface by saying, from this man's perspective, right? And it might sound a little superficial, but that's fine. It's my definition of success, right? One, how can I identify and can I have an apologetic approach to my relationship and why I believe in the Father and the Most High and in His Son, right? That's one, right? Two, it's when I come home at night and there's food in there to feed my kids, the lights come on, there's no red note on my door. Like for some people, it's the super success, the mansion, the car. But me, can I sustain my family? Can I keep my family without want or need? Do they live wondering where their next meal come from, or am I able? You could put a dollar tag on it, but for me, am I capable when I wake up and go to sleep to provide for my family the next day, to take care of the things they need to take care of? Am I taking care of my body enough to still play with my sons and pick up my daughters? So to me, those things are the image of success for this man, to me.
I would say it depends on the man. It does. It varies. Like like Tawami said, Tawami's version of success might not be the same as Coach's, might not be the same as Roland's, might not be the same as Mr. Robinson's, might not be the same as mine, but that's his version of success. Success to me, and I think Coach said it long ago, and I'm going to take a page out of his book because we read kind of sort of the same material. Success to me is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Word to Earl Nightingale. But it varies. It varies it varies. It varies. So that's a difficult question to ask on a well, that's a difficult question to answer, because the answer is always going to be different depending on the man that you ask.
I'd like to step into that. And that's the biggest picture to paint, that every man has a different view of what success is. My biggest view of success for me was me and my ex-wife. We didn't agree on the name for my son. My name is Saul, and she could not understand why I wanted my son's name to be Paul. I wanted him to be a better version of me, right? It's not to say that Saul didn't find his way, right? He did, because he became Paul, but I wanted to instill in him the things that I didn't know growing up, the things that I wanted to know growing up. I got to meet my dad later on in life. He's in my life now, but I didn't have him always. So me having my son in my hands, I wanted to name him Paul. We couldn't agree on that. His name is Saul also, but to have your kid understand life better than you did. There's always that point in life where you look and say, "Man, I wish I knew then what I know now." And if you can pour that into your kid, I got a kid who listens to me, man. He soaks up what I say like a sponge. We have conversations over cocoa and coffee like two grown men. He's 14. He's in high school now, and I love it. And sometimes he'll come back to me and say, "Dad, you know what? I can appreciate what you said, but you ever think about this?" And he really gives me stuff to think about. So to know that he's thinking in that regard, man, that's a big pinnacle for me. That's a success point in my life, to see my kids understand life better than I did at their age, and doing much better than I'm doing, or hopefully, by the time they get to my age.
Man, I love it. I don't know why I went last. I should have went before Saul. He come with that.
No,
Yeah,
man, you
that's
good.
touching. It's like, oh, the lady like, oh, that's, they love.
I knew better to go first. I knew
I
right.
love it. But as these brothers said, that's an individual thing, because for me, being this close to death, and now my definition of success is any day I get to wake up. I get to wake up. I don't care what's going on. It could be raining, it could be freezing outside. It don't matter to me. But I get to wake up and my mind is set on whatever purpose that I'm pursuing. And I can do that. I'm a success. My kids good. My house is fine. Even the grandpuppies. If everything is, I wake up, I have a chance to help everybody else be better. I have a chance to do something for somebody else, because my purpose ain't just for me. So at the end of the day, I'm looking at it like, hey, I got to wake up. Everybody did.
I'm listening to everybody, and I'm loving everybody's rendition. That's what I'm gonna go with. Everybody's rendition of success. But I have to go back to what Chris said, because that was my point. That's where I was going to go anyway, right? Earl Nightingale's definition of success, right? A progressive realization of a worthy idea. And I think if these men were to articulate the entirety of their lives like 15, 20 years ago, they may have been in a different place. So success may have looked different. 10 years later, success looks different. Another 10 years, success look different. And I think that's kind of like what the definition of success is for most men, right? I think everybody at some point is in survival. They're looking to make sure that the bills get paid. They want to make sure food is on the table. They want to make sure all those things are happening. Everybody, the electricity is on. It's warm when it's cold outside, and it's cool when it's hot outside. All those things happen. Everybody's in the provide and protect mode. But then, as you mature, you start like nurturing, and you start coaching and teaching like those children, to get them to the space to where, like my brother just articulated, to where they're thinking and processing. They're not moving through life like robots. And your goal is to make them better earlier and faster, right? You want to make sure that you equip them for what it is that their life's purpose is, what their life's calling is, right? And then I think ultimately everybody gets to the point to where I want to know why I exist on this earth. I think there is a yearning that exists in the gut of every man to get to that point. It may not be today, but it may be 5 years from now, maybe 10 years ago, or it might be right now. And it may just start as a little like a little ember, and then get to the point of a full-fledged flame later. I think that's the whole idea behind what Earl Nightingale's definition was all about. I think as we progress in life, the worthiness of the idea that exists between our two ears matures and manifests and exists in our life. And once we realize that idea, once it has manifest, it has to be the next one. It has to be the next one. And I think when we get to that point, that's what success looks like for every man. It just looks different depending upon where they are in life. But I don't know no man who do not want their children to be successful. I don't know no man who ever not wanted to provide for their family. I don't know no man who would not give up their life to protect their family. You see what I'm saying? And I don't know no man, if you ask them where they are in life, would it bother you if your child becomes more successful than you? Absolutely not. In fact, that is my goal. That's what we want when it comes down to it. And I think that's what success looks like. So great question, Michelle, and thank you for bringing that to the table. Listen, you guys are in there. I'm seeing you guys dropping knowledge, and if I pronounce your name wrong, brother, I do apologize. How do you say that? Aripa? I'm from Georgia. Y'all help me out. How do you say that? Aripa? Sound it
I,
out.
I saw in there he said something about his name was Lee.
Lee. Okay, we're gonna go with Lee. I can do that. Yeah, Lee is easy for me. Welcome to the show, Lee. Good to see you, brother. I see what you're doing. Keep doing it, brother. I love it. I love it. I love it. So absolutely, absolutely. Let's jump on to the next question because we got some points we want to dive into here. So first, we're going to start with the whole spiritual well-being, and based upon the way we've flown, we're just going to go one each. All right. So let's go with the first one. That said, how do you balance the pursuit of material success with spiritual richness, especially when modern life often prioritizes the former? In other words, everybody wants to chase the bag, right? So, in your mature state of mind, how do you prioritize your spiritual success over the pursuit of the bag? If that's where you are.
I'll go first. I guess I balance it by saying that me chasing the bag is not about me. I'm chasing the bag so I can put other people in positions to chase the bag, if that makes any sense. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it's not about me. I know that what I'm doing is bigger than me. And honestly, it's my moral obligation. It's my moral obligation. And since we're talking spiritual, I believe it's an obligation to the divine creator to be the best version of me that I can be. You understand what I'm saying? Like, being less than, I really believe would be a slap in the face, because the chances of me even being here are slim to none if you really look at it. You understand what I'm saying? So me putting myself in a better position is about me getting there so that way I can give from the overflow to the people so that way they can get to where they need to be. It's not about me. So that's kind of how I balance it. I know I'm doing this for the whole. Because if I was doing it just for me, that would make me selfish. And what good is it to have all of these things if I'm the only one that can use it? You understand what I'm saying? To me, chasing the bag means putting myself in a position to be useful to other people and not just have a bag, if that makes any sense.
That definitely makes sense. And from me and the things that I've gone through, and D, you may not have known this. I think right before we met, I think I told you about my motorcycle accident at Hood. I had a 15% chance to live. I heard the doctor said if he makes it through the night, he'll be lucky. I slapped the doctor with my good arm because I had a broken arm, broken collarbone, 7 ribs, collapsed lung, bruise. I can go on down the line with the crap that was wrong with me. But I had a spiritual belief that it wasn't my time, and I knew I was going to live. I woke up several times in and out of a coma, hearing people praying over me, man. That was powerful for me. I had my whole unit coming up there every day to coach me through it. So when I came out of that thing, I was on convalescent leave for about 75 days. I had plenty of time to wrap my mind around what it is I thought I was doing. So at the time, I was prospecting for Rough Riders. Um, Definitely not a good thing there, right? But I wanted the unity of the club. I kind of saw it in a military fashion. But once I got into it, I kind of knew it wasn't really what I needed. So I did not finish the prospect process. And in those 75 days, it gave me a time to basically wrap my mind around what's good, what's right, what's bad, what's in God's eyes. And I had to really step back because I saw the money I was going to get when I deployed. I was going to get this car, this house. Had the flashy, excuse me, I had the flashy thoughts in my mind. But after that accident, I did not deploy. I did not get out and go to the $300,000 job that I was supposed to because I was still injured. It really helped me to open my eyes and say, you know what, I'm not ready for that. Sometimes God will give you things that you see it as a negative, but that negative is opening doors to a positive. And I truly believe that's what happened for me. And out of that, I got the life that I love. I got my kids. I got the gym that I've always wanted. My desire is to help people through fitness and nutrition, and also from a mental aspect. So it helped me grow spiritually, and I didn't even know it. And when I had so many people coming to pray with me, man, it brought tears to my eyes every time that so many people cared that much to pour that into me. That's why I say your circle, man, is so important. They say the people you surround yourself with, those are the people you'll become like. So I always go back to, that circle you surround yourself with. It means a lot. If your circle don't pray, that doesn't mean you don't have to pray, but that negative, it finds a way of creeping in there. So me prospecting for Rough Riders, that was going down a dark road. God put a stop to it real quick.
Whew. So mine's is pretty simple, I think. So Proverbs 16 says, when a man's ways pleases Yahweh, pleases the Most High, he will cause even his enemies to be at peace with him. I believe that even word means everything including, right? That means the pursuit for my family, right? And I'm not going to get so away from spiritual principles that I would say that all this money going to come to you. It's about money. No, let's leave that for other preachers, right? But what happens, and what I heard these brothers articulate in their own way, is I became the thing that I searched after, right? Uh, or the thing that I believe, right? You have to become what you're searching for in the Most High, and then your pursuit for safety and security in this world will fall in line, because what I'm doing is not in pursuit of the money, is in pursuit of the kingdom, is in pursuit of being like him, walking like him, speaking like him. I want, when I heard Saul say, I want to enrich people's life through health and fitness, right? That is a forgotten principle of the scriptures, right? The idea that we take care of our body. We say your body's the temple of God, and we only mean don't drink and smoke weed. That's all we really mean when we say that in the church. But we don't mean eat right. We don't mean get active. We mean don't do what we told you not to do. But that's a biblical principle. So for me, he became that principle and that image of the Father, which is taking care of the temple. And so whatever he gains through that, he does not lose sight of seeking the kingdom. Right. And so for me, that's how I say, how do I not lose sight? That has to be the core reason behind what I do. I have to align the thing that I am trying to do with who I'm trying to be and what I believe and who I'm chasing after. And so that's the thing. The question goes, it just goes to this question for me: what are you chasing after? And that answers your question.
I just say something just to have something to say because these brothers said it all. But I think the balance is when I seek Him, when I seek to please Him, then everything that I put my hands to is blessed because I'm not seeking vainglory. I'm not seeking to please myself. I'm seeking to give Him glory. So now, what if I'm doing something online, if I'm doing something in the community, if I'm doing something, it may garner attention and it may gather something to where people want to pay me, but I know it's not by my hands. So I can try to take credit for it because I did this and I did that. But at the end of the day, I looked at it and said, how is it that I'm going to give Him glory in this thing, in my life, in my walk, in my talk? So not only am I seeking Him and with my words, because people will say, yeah, I'm seeking Him, but you seeking who you don't know. You're seeking somebody you don't study about. You're seeking a relationship that you're not building. But when you build that relationship, He blesses that relationship. And when He blesses said relationship, all your other relationships follow suit because you no longer want to hang out over here. You ain't trying to be a rough rider. Been there, done that. I was with you. That speed virus and all that back in '08. So yeah, you seek Him. You seek to please not self, not flesh, because flesh always gonna have the next thing and the next thing because you always desiring something else. But when you desire to please Him, you can never get enough of it, and the balance can never be outweighed with what you receive on the back end.
Man, I mean, bro, I'm with you. It's kind of hard to follow up after all y'all. I mean, you guys, I mean, you pretty much covered every basis. And as I'm looking to all of the messages that are in the chat, man, they're cleaning it up as well. I am in agreement with everything that is said. I think it kind of starts off by, going back to what I said previously, right? Understanding those gates. I think balance, when we consider balance, we look at the scale and it's being equal sides. And I don't think that is balance when it comes down to us. I think balance for us is understanding, number one, who we are and who we were created to be. Understand what He had in mind when He created me, and understand that the bag, per se, everything else is a resource that is stored up here, and He is the source. So if I pay close attention and I get back to the source, focus my time, energy, and efforts in the source, so I can become intimately intertwined with His being. First, I got to understand who He is. I got to understand what He said. Then I got to understand what He said about me. And then I nurture, like Roland said, I nurtured that relationship so that I can understand why these other things exist. That the bag was never supposed to be our primary pursuit. He was always supposed to be our primary pursuit. So I pursue Him, right, without question. Now, I'm not going to lie, years ago, that wasn't the case. I'm not going to sit here and talk about like, hey, I came out the womb like this, bro. This has always been me. No, absolutely. Just like these brothers told you these brothers over here, right? Just like these brothers told you to ride motorcycle. I did not ride motorcycle, but I drove a car like a motorcycle. Just tell the truth, right? But at the end of the day, you got to realize everybody goes through their stages. Everybody goes through their phases because everybody at some point think they're bulletproof. But at some point, something in life is going to happen to say, hey, all of this stuff may feel good, but it ain't good. This is the thing that is good. And initially, it's not going to feel good because you get to look in the mirror and you get to see you. And then when you humble yourself and prioritize Him over your selfish wants, over your selfish needs, over your selfish desires, then what you'll find, like the scripture says, right, He will give you the desires of your heart. You realize that He becomes the desires of your heart. That's why He gives it to you. And when you focus that, then all these things will start happening. You don't focus on that. This just happens. This just happens. This just happened. man, people say, hey, man, yes, you are blessed. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But he's the blessing, right? That's how you have to look at it. Like he is the blessing. I appreciate all that he's done for me, and there's absolutely nothing I can do that can ever repay him. And so when I look at it, getting back to what everybody said, making sure that I honor this thing, I feed it right, I keep it active, I study, I pray, I pursue. Brother Saul, I like your story. Um, when your testimony in relation to your accident, and you talked about praying, because I'm gonna go on a limb, and I think just about everybody on this panel, I think a lot of the things that you experienced in your life is because there was a grandmother who prayed for you while you was out in the streets. And trust
Oh,
me, I'm
who's you
telling you,
telling?
I'm
Yeah,
telling you,
definitely.
yes, sir. Grandmothers were praying, bro. They were in the room humming and rocking and praying at the same time. And we out in them streets don't even know it. And I
Definitely.
will walk in the house and catch my grandma. What you doing? Nothing, baby. Just going back doing what you're doing. And she is getting it in and humming and she is in it. I mean, she is literally fighting on my behalf, and I had no idea. And it dawned on me one day that a lot of the stuff that you're experiencing right now in life is because of those prayers, because they were standing in the gap, because they literally was calling you by name. And I think that's really what it looks like. It's not a balancing act like you imagine in the scale. It is a balancing act where you understand who the source is and what the source created and who the source created you to be. He created you to be the vessel, right? And as a vessel, like Roland said, those relationships, they become the recipient because of the relationship that you have with him. So yes, I definitely appreciate that. Listen, man, you guys are doing great in the chats. Um, and I want to say, let me see, give me one good point, because we got to keep pressing. But thou shalt remember the Lord thy God, for it is he that giveth thee the power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant, which he sware unto thy father, as it is this day. I think a lot of times when people go and quote this, they only quote the first part. They leave off the second part. Quote the first part, remember the second part. Make sure that you keep the second part, because if you only focus on the first part, you're only remembering the first part because it's the wealth that caught your attention. But there's a reason why he gave you the power to get wealth, so that he may establish his covenant. We cannot leave that off. So great point, and thank you for bringing that to the table. All right, let's keep pressing forward. Let's move on down to social justice, and let's do the approach conversations here. Um, because I think this is important for us to understand as mature men and as men in general, right? I think we need to understand that. So, gentlemen, how do you approach conversations about sensitive social issues like race and gender without feeling like you're walking on eggshells?
I knew it. I knew you was gonna do it, so I had to beat you to it. I'm gonna pull a Chris real quick. I don't walk on eggshells.
You're damn right.
Like, because
You
here's the
are
thing. I'm
damn right.
not. I knew it. I knew where you was going, so I just had to beat you to it. So I had something to say still. Nah, but I don't initiate most of these conversations, right? Somebody will say something, and I'm one of those. I'm a 42 alpha, so you met me right there in the reg, so now I can meet you here, and I'm still within the guideline. You start the conversation and you put your opinion out there, and don't go running. Oh, we can't talk about that at the work. You started it, so I'm gonna give my opinion. It don't mean we gotta agree, but I don't walk on eggshells. But I'm not. But I've learned how to be able to say what I have to say and not lose character of who I am and not lose sight of the respect I have for other people. But I don't walk on the eggshells. If you believe what you believe and you stand on what you stand on, I don't think you should ever have to be afraid to make your point plain and clear. That's it. You got it, Chris.
Don't do me like that. I'm not that bad. I am not that bad. How do I approach conversations like this? I ask if they legitimately want to hear what I have to say before I say it, just to let them know that I'm gonna, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be honest. I am going to be honest about what I see, and I'm gonna be objective. I don't understand social justice as a whole. Like, I don't. So when people come to me with things like, what do we do about this because this is doing this? Or what do I do about this because this gender thing is causing all of this? And I'm like, do you really want to know what I got to say? Are you sure you want me to answer and I've asked this question on this panel. Are you sure you want me to answer this question or dig into this subject? If they say yes, I say what is on my mind. I have grown past offending people, not because I'm just negligent of how people feel. It's because to speak runs the risk of being offensive. Like I was at the store and there was a guy talking to the store clerk and he was talking about his kids. And I walked up to him and I said, "Hey, so you said you were a father?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Thank you for your service." And he got an attitude with me because I said, "Thank you." And I explained to him, I have a channel. I talk to dads. And whenever I see one, I say, "Thank you." And he legitimately got upset with me because I said, "Thank you." You understand what I'm saying? Like, so to speak runs the risk of being offensive. Whether you see that face Roland has, that's the face I had. That was my face. But it is what it is. He might have taken it the wrong way, or might have been, I don't know how he took it, but I knew that I was coming from a place of, to be real, gratitude. You understand what I'm saying? So I knew what I was doing. How he took it was on him. And then I just let it be. So I don't walk on eggshells. I say what's on my mind, but I'm not above taking into consideration that what I say may offend somebody. But it is what it is.
You guys are probably going to start calling me the storyteller because I got a story for everything, right? So here it is. I'm a civilian and I'm at work. I'm the only black person in the room of about 30 people. So this guy asked me while Kaepernick was doing his thing, "Hey, Saul, aren't you tired of Kaepernick messing up the game?" I stop. I look around the room. I said, "Well, what do you mean by that? Protesting the game." I said, "Do you understand why he's protesting the game?" "No, aren't you upset?" I said, "What is he doing?" He's interrupting the national anthem. You were a soldier, aren't you upset?" I said, "Well, okay, do you want me to answer the question or do you want me to paint to the narrative that you just presented me?" He says, "I want you to answer the question." Every pen stopped writing, every head turned my way. I said, "Okay, here we go. We didn't open this box." I said, "Well, let me ask you this question." I said, "Have you ever had a gun pointed at your head and being surrounded by four cops?" Some people laugh, some people like, "Huh?" He's like, "No." I said, "Okay, well, I have." I said, "I was in a very wealthy neighborhood, multi-million dollar homes. I'm driving to work. I'm on the night shift. I'm in DC. I get pulled over. Cop pulls up behind me. Another cop pulls up behind him. It's a four-way stop. We're at the intersection. I'm in the turn lane. Two other cops park at opposite sides. They get outside of the car. The other two cops get out behind them and behind me, and one cop comes on the left, one cop comes on the right. The cop on the right, I can see his flashlight shaking. And I said, "Man, I'm about to die." So I said, "Okay, what can I do to make this dude feel comfortable?" I rolled down all four windows. This dude immediately drew his gun. "Freeze! Freeze!" I'm telling this story to these people. They're like, "He's lying." I'm like, "Nah, dude, this actually happened." Guns pointed at my head. The other guys asked me, "Hey, sir, where you going?" I said, "Well, hey, man, could you do me a favor?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Could you ask your partner to put your gun down?" He didn't even notice the dude had his gun pointed at me. He said, "Hey, Tom, put your gun down." Huh? Tom was so nervous, it's almost like he didn't hear the other dude talking to him. So finally, he puts his gun down. I said, "Hey, I'm going to put my hands on the dashboard. Is that okay?" He said, "No, you don't have to do that." I said, "No, I feel comfortable. So you know my hands aren't reaching for anything." Put my hands on the dashboard. He said, "Where you going?" I said, "I'm going to work." "Well, where do you work?" I said, "I'm not at liberty to tell you that based on the classification of my work." I said, "Well, I have a lanyard on that has a crest. If I can pull it up, it'll show you where I work. If you live in this area, work this area, you know what I do." So I pull it up. He says, "Oh, he's one of them." Let's go. I say, hey, officer, got his badge number, read it to him. Could you tell me why you pulled me over? He said, you were driving suspiciously. I said, what does that look like? He said, you were doing 40 and a 45. Have a nice day. Told that story. I said, okay, so now knowing that, I've been through that. I said, so can you understand how I can appreciate Kaepernick? He said, well, what about? I said, no, 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 no. Let's not switch subjects. Let's stick to this topic. You open the can. Let's go ahead and pour it out. Can you see how I can appreciate Kaepernick? Whole room's like, wow, yeah, yeah, go Kaepernick. Narrative change. He didn't like that. So I don't know. I don't tap dance around it. I don't try to approach it because people don't like to hear what I got to say. My voice carries a bit when I get a little excited, get a little upset. So I try to keep myself at bay. But I couldn't avoid that topic, that conversation.
Had me about to kneel down right there. How do I approach conversations about sensitive social issues? I love these topics. One, because I know if someone approaches me, I don't just go out and approach people with conversation. Not going to do it because everybody's not emotionally intelligent enough to have this conversation. So I ask them, what do you gain your truth from? Who establishes truth? If you tell me biblical, cool, we can have a conversation all day, but we got to talk and we got to allow the other person to speak. It's not one of those conversations where I'm going to try to get get all mine out and keep shutting you down because that's not a conversation. I will talk, you listen. You talk, I will listen. And if we can do that, I have any conversation. Because I think I'm articulate enough and I've read enough books to where I can sit down with anybody and have a conversation and I can gain something from it. Because, I grew up in Detroit and I grew up in an environment where you grew up and it's a Muslim. So I grew up under that. So when I was in the church for almost 30 plus years in leadership, I've done that. And so I can speak from those areas, and I can speak. I've been to school for biblical principles and such, so I can speak to that. And now I realize that it's not about you going to school for it; it's about you learning and living it, and that's where I am now. So, what are we talking about? Like, if we're gonna talk about something, you're gonna talk about a disagreement where you disagree with this. What does Scripture say? You disagree with that? What does Scripture say? So it's not whether or not you want to abide by this. You want to use it when you want, and then you want to not go by it when it doesn't suit you. So, we're going to establish truth first, and then we'll go from there. Because if we can't establish truth first, or where we gain our truth from, then our conversation going to be a moot point, because it really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you're going to sit up there and believe what you believe.
I think for me, when it comes down to how do I approach these conversations, optimistically. I think I like to look at it from the perspective of this is an opportunity for me to learn something and vice versa. But for the other person to learn, I have to have a posture of wanting to learn first. I think one of the things that we need to do is that we need to understand is that we must do it first, right? Be the change that you want to see in the world. So if you want respect, you must first be respectful. If you want peace, you must first be peaceful. So I approach these conversations optimistically. I do not run from difficult conversations. In fact, I actually love them because I think in difficult conversations, relationships have the opportunity to grow and nurture, grow and flourish at that particular point in time. So I approach these conversations optimistically. Why? Because I am curious to learn why you think the way you think. This brings into the perspective of the truth, fact, assumptions, and opinions. If you're just giving me opinions, I don't really want to talk about your opinion. I appreciate your opinion, but give me something factual. Like if you don't focus on the truth, that's fine. I meet you at facts, right? It's just like going to court. right? If it's an old, old adage, when you're in a court of law, if you have the law, you argue the law. If you have the facts, you argue the facts. If you have neither, you pound the table and yell like hell. I don't want to deal with the person that's going to pound the table. So if you're going to stay in the opinion realm, you stay there. But give me some fact. Can we talk about fact first? And if you can give me fact, great. Let's talk about the facts. Like, what fact do you have to bring to the table about why you feel the way you feel? Because again, don't project your feeling. Give me the fact. If you want to have a feeling about the fact, that's fine, but you're going to have to analyze your feelings compared to the facts and then give me what you learn. But if we're just talking about expressing feelings back and forth, then that's a conversation that leads to absolute nothingness. So at the end of the day, when we look at these things, again, I approach them optimistically because we both have the opportunity to learn, but I approach it first because I want to learn. I can talk to anybody and I will listen to what anybody has to say within reason, as long as you're not trying to be offensive and trying to, belittle, because now that conversation is going to take a drastic turn. And I'm pretty good with words. I'm pretty good with words. So we don't want to go there. Let's keep the dude that's before you in front of you, because this is the person I want to be, and this is the person that you want me to be. And so as long as I maintain a posture of learning, and I do that by asking questions. So help me to understand why this is so important to you. Help me to understand why your stance is so rigid. Help me to understand why this. What happens if, right? So these are the questions that I inject, because now the person is starting to analyze and think. It's not just emotional outbursts. They're actually having to think and respond to the questions that I'm asking. But I'm in a space of wanting to learn, right? That's my posture. I'm in a space of wanting to learn. I'm not attacking you with questions. I am asking you in a very curious fashion. And as you're responding, I'm like, okay, I get that. So what if, how about this? Have you considered this? And then eventually that conversation is going to start unfolding. I never looked at it that way. Okay, so let me share with you from this side, like Brother Saul just said. Let me share from you from this side what it's like to be in that position. Let me share on this side what it's like to be in those shoes. Like, oh my God, I never knew that happened. Exactly. You won't know it happened because it's not on your door. And if it's not on your doorstep, it doesn't affect you. And if it doesn't affect you, you don't really care about it. And I think that sits, like, it doesn't matter what type of conversation you're in, whether we're talking race, whether we're talking sex, whether we're talking gender dysphoria, it doesn't matter what it is, right? Stay curious, right? Don't be intentionally offensive, but understand where a person is, because everybody don't know the truth. And so what do? Do we not talk to them? Sure we do. We can still talk to them. We can talk to them based upon facts. And if we keep them in the fact, right, then okay, we can get to the point to where we're exchanging facts, and then we can usher them to the truth. And if we can usher them to the truth, that's totally different. But a lot of times a lot of times what I've seen is that people like to exist in conversation where it's all about the expressions of opinions. It's not going to work for me. So that's just how I look at it. And again, I'm not saying that this is the way. This is my way, and I've seen it work. And again, give it a shot, give it a try, and see what actually happens. And if not, get a brother's big as Saul and have them stand beside you. They'll listen. They'll listen. Absolutely. Um, Okay, great. We're doing pretty good. Let's dive into the next question here under quality relationships. Okay, let's go with the nope. I don't want that one. Conflict. I like conflict. When conflict arises, what strategies do you employ to handle them constructively rather than taking the easy route of cutting ties?
I try to be as objective as possible, because I understand that a lot of people don't have opinions. Their opinions have them. You understand what I'm saying? So I try to pull myself out of it and look at it for what it is. And if I can't constructively handle that conflict, then I cut ties. But I'm not just going to shut down just because you're saying something I don't like. You understand what I'm saying? I always listen, like I said, Jordan Peterson's 12 rules of life. I think it's rule number 4, number 5. I always listen to people like they got something that they could teach me. So You understand what I'm saying? But if what I'm saying is doing something to them to cause them to elevate the conflict instead of actually trying to have a constructive conversation, then that's when I cut ties. Because if all you want to do is fight me instead of actually trying to understand where I'm coming from, like I'm trying to understand where you coming from, like you said, there's no reason for us to converse, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to change the way that I think instead of actually understanding where I'm coming from and looking at things from a different perspective, because you're not always right. You understand what I'm saying? So I pull myself out of it and look at it for what it is. And I also say that what I'm speaking on the subject. I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. This is nothing personal. I'm speaking on what we're talking about. You understand what I'm saying? Now, if what we're talking about is so intertwined in who you are that you can't tell the difference, then that's where the conflict will arise. No matter what I say, you're still going to think that I'm insulting you instead of saying, okay, he's just talking about this. You understand what I'm saying? So I pull myself out of it. I look at it objectively. I try to see what I can gain from it. But if there is no gain in the conflict, I cut ties, because really I don't have a choice.
For me, I think my personal growth in conflicts have come from facing people that approach me in a negative way, and it was power, man. And when I tell you, it felt good because I was able to smile about it. When somebody approaches me in a negative way, and I'm able to say, you know what, whatever he's got going on, it's got nothing to do with me. It's something he's battling inside. And I'm able to not match his negative energy with negative energy. I'm able to ask him a question. Hey, man, what can I do to help you? And that changes the whole narrative because he's expecting me to combat him in his negative way. And I just gave him an olive branch. I gave him a reach. Hey, man, what can I do to help you? What's going on with you? And if they continue to try with the negative energy, and I don't give in to the negative energy, and that's all they want to do. Second and third time, okay, hey, it's obvious we can't have a conversation. Talk to me later, man. And I'm able to walk away. That is power because the '08 guy, 2008, he wasn't able to do that. But the guy you see before you, I'm telling you, man, it is powerful to know that a person has an issue in their life. I just happen to be the person in front of them that's receiving it at the time, and I'm able to digest it in that way and not combat his negative vibes with negative vibes. So that is my biggest approach to conflict. But I'll give him that three strikes you out. As long as it doesn't get physical, I'm able to pull out. If it does get physical, I'm still able to pull out to a certain extent. But that's my approach.
Dealing with conflict. I think dealing with conflict, I tell them that I have the book of peace, and then I got the peace that surpasses all understanding on my hip. Now, let me stop. I'm just joking, but I'm not, so don't try me. But I think conflict
I'm
is one
glad I
of
caught that before I left.
those.
What is wrong with you?
I'm
What
real
is
slow.
with you this Friday
I'm a little
evening?
thrown off.
Petty Freddy. That's what he does.
It's a little true stuff.
Jesus
Um,
H.
but dealing with conflict, I think when, especially when two people have differences of opinion, there will be conflict because you believe one thing, I believe another. I think what I do is I always maintain my sense of calmness. I'm never here. Never, especially if it ain't physical, have no reason to get there. If you're trying to prove your point, you can prove your point down here. You don't have to be talking up here to me because I can understand what you're saying. Show me, talk to me. And if we're talking, So I always try to keep it here. If you go here, I'm gonna go lower because we don't need to be up here. Because when we get up there, it's confrontation. It's almost where no, I don't want to touch you. You don't want to touch me. Hopefully, and then remember about those peace symbols I got. But we gonna always go back to this thing because if we go back to that thing, then we had my thing fair. If we go back to that thing, we have no problems. But I stay away from conflict because I don't like to go there where we gonna be at fisticuffs and all that other stuff. No, then I gotta sweat. I'm 50 years old. You think I'm about to fight you? I ain't about to fight you. I'm not about to raise my hand, and I'm not about to kill anybody over something petty. You know, it's that whole the military in me taught me some things, but I'm not about to get to the point to where I'm gonna waste time, sweat, and energy over a conversation. What can be held with a simple conversation.
Now, putting me last, not expecting me to start petty was wrong. Because we're not gonna act like we didn't just all thought Roland failed just now.
I thought it was the peace symbols, bro. I didn't want to say kind of peace symbols you got going. My bad, man. But what did he say? Pizza symbols. Which one was it? I can't remember. I'm sorry. Just be quiet.
Hey, but glad to see you all right. And secondly, and I got to get serious. But secondly, did I hear Brother Saul say, "I face the person that's facing me with negativity"? That ends the conflict right there. We all see this, brother. Face me while I'm hostile. I'll find peace real quick. Now that's, I'm just messing with you. But y'all know my motto. I think I said it enough here, right? I don't like hostility. Like if we're gonna have a conversation, if we're talking about conversational conflict, I'm not finna do it. I just believe I know Roland said he ain't finna sweat because he 50. I ain't 50 yet. It wants to start getting disrespectful. If it ain't worth fighting over, is it worth catching these hands over? If not, then let's bring it down. Let's talk civil. Because I really don't, and somebody may have to educate me with conflict, but I don't understand the purpose of it going here and getting disrespectful if your intent is not to put these hands out, reach out and touch someone. So if we're not doing that, why are we yelling at each other, right? So not saying that everything needs to be violent, but what I'm saying is if it ain't worth taking it to that level, let's bring it down. Let's be civil. And y'all and people look at me crazy, but I say that to people. I say it because I don't want to get into a place where we have lost sight of whatever the conversation is because our feelings got the best of us. All right. And so for me, that makes it real. I approach every man with the mindset, if I come to you disrespectful, I'm coming to you prepared. In my mind, I'm prepared because I know if I come to this grown man and disrespect him, there's a chance I'm gonna have to see him. We're gonna have to raise up, move some furniture around, because that's just how it is. You know what I'm saying? So that disrespect is just, to me, is weird. I'm just gonna be real. It's weird. I don't get it. I said no. That's not that kind of blue. That's this kind of blue. And you talking about some. That's why your mama and your no. What? Wait a minute. So I try to find an approach to make the hostility real to a person, so they can understand we're going to an unnecessary point. Let's bring it back down and let's talk. Let's not lose sight of the conversation, or let's just stop having this conversation. If you can't, I know people that cannot talk politics without getting angry. Okay, with you, kind sir, young man, we will not talk politics. But those always seem to be the person or the people that always want to talk politics, and or whatever that conversation is. And somebody said it earlier. I think a lot of times it's because you want to make me believe your point of view. Now, I see your point of view. I just don't agree. Like, I believe you see mine, you just don't agree. Okay. You know, so that's my approach. I feel like we have to get a point to where we make it seem real what we're doing. Like, you're really being disrespectful for no reason. So let's bring it down, or let's just stop having the conversation. We ain't got to cut ties. We just can't talk about this.
That's how they do it. Jersey, son. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm joking. Um, and you and Cassandra, man. Cassandra got that hand laying ministry over there. Um, I believe, and this is just me, I believe the relationship, the type of relationship warrants my response. So if we just, you know, I just met you at the basketball court, and trust me, I ain't gonna meet you at the basketball court. I ain't gonna be at the basketball court. But if I just meet you at the basketball court or something, or some type of whatever, I'm not fitting to do that. Just it's just not fitting to happen. There is a difference. Like we have, like men have a code when it comes down to an athletic event. We talk trash. It's just one of those things. If it just kind of gets under your skin, then okay, got it. You one of them cats I can't do that with. It's not that I'm scared of you. I'm just not gonna get into that type of altercation. Like I'm not quite yet 50. But it, my bad. I'm not quite yet 50, but I'm not. I choose not. What, man? Put your watch down. No. But I'm not gonna do all that. I'm just not there at this stage in my life. However, if it's a person that I actually care about, and this is the funny part about it when you think about it, if it's a person that I actually care about, I'll stay in the pressure cooker with them. I just won't turn the heat up high. I am going to meet them where they are, but we're going to talk about this because what I'm not going to do is allow a coping mechanism to exist and become the norm. And a lot of times, what we do is we'll have a conversation and say, "Oh, well, I just can't talk about this. I need a timeout." Then the person goes away. Well, you just created a new norm. And so every time there becomes an issue, that person's going to say, "You know what? I can't talk about this. I need a timeout." So we will stay in it and we will have the conversation and we will get to some type of resolution. It's just not going to be a heated conversation, at least not for me. You might get heated, but we're going to have a, we're going to have, stop that. We're going to have the conversation, right? Y'all just being petty right now. I'm close to 50. Thank you. Okay. So we're going to have the conversation. We're going to talk about it until we develop this thing called an understanding, not just okay, I don't want to talk about it no more. No, we're going to talk about it to where there becomes an understanding about why this situation existed, because I don't want to visit it again. I think that's important, right? Because it is important for us to take the risk, take the necessary risk for the sake of relationship. So again, my response to conflict is determined by the type of relationship. If it's just kind of like an associate, I ain't got time for that. We good. All right, then whatever. We can have a disagreement and I'm good. But if it's somebody that I really care about, we're going to talk about this. We're going to come to a resolution and then we're both going to walk away from this conversation with an understanding so we don't have to revisit this thing again. And again, we got to be careful because there's a lot of bad information that comes down the pipeline. I don't care who it comes from. I'm saying it. I don't care. Right? There's a lot of bad information say, hey, just walk away from it. No, but when you walk away from it, you're walking away from the situation. You're walking away and you're creating a new norm. So every time something happens, you're just going to walk away from it. Now, I will say this: if you guys are about to, go fisticuff, now walk away from that. That's totally different. Ain't nobody need to go to jail because you're trying to come to some resolution. Forget that. I got to leave. But that's totally different. But if you guys can maintain some degree of civility and stay in the conversation, control your emotions, and have the conversation, then you can achieve this thing called understanding. And in all that getting, you're supposed to get an understanding. So I think that's important for us to understand. So I'm sorry, go ahead, bro.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to carry because you brought up a good point that made me think, like, the type of relationship, but also the type of conversation. Like, if it's a crucial conversation, you have to stay in the fight if the relationship is worth it, right? Uh, if it's like, like for me, I'm talking about, people that just like to have, barbershop conversations everywhere, but they can't handle the conversation when people disagree with them, you know. So I think it is definitely important to understand the type of conversation you're having makes a difference. We're not finna yell and holler over over Trump or Biden. You know what I mean? But if we're having a crucial conversation about our relationship or about something that is hurting our relationship, if it's a crucial conversation, it might get heavy. It might get emotional, might get heated, but somebody has to keep their head and stay in the fight. I agree, sir.
And as long as we remember one simple rule, everything will be all right. That's it. If we keep that in mind, all is well. That's just it. So that that being said, listen, man, I want to just thank everybody. We appreciate Brother Saul Robinson, man. If you guys want to see Brother Robinson be a normal part of the show, just put a one in the chat, because I really it is always good talking with that brother, man. We stayed on the phone, he and I, for about 45 minutes to an hour one day, just catching up. So again, if you want to see Saul Robinson be a normal part of the show, put a one in the chat. But as we get ready to close out, we're going to go ahead and dive into our final thoughts, because this is always what the bittersweet moment at the end of the conversation look like. So we're going to start with Brick City first, then we're going to go to Detroit, then we go come on. So that being said, Brother Gaddy, you got the floor.
Oh man, thank you all for this great conversation. Chat, y'all was on it. But one of the things I think we have to realize, and I love this conversation, is that each one of us, though we are slightly different, we equally matter, right? In the aspect of our community and in the aspect of our relationships, we equally matter. No one is greater than the other, right? Our positions are different, our anatomy is different, but equal in our importance to the fight. And so if we can approach each other with that understanding that what you have and what you bring and who you are is just as important as who I am or what I bring and what I do, then I think it alleviates some of the tension that we have when it comes, in conflicts that we have when it comes to living and when it comes to doing the thing, because I understand that the bigger picture is us, not me. And that's in everything. And the only picture that is greater than us is the Most High, because he's the only one that sustains us. Right. And so we must first build our communities on him, build ourselves on him, build our communities on him. And then we could say what the Most High has brought together, let no man put asunder. And that's his people. So let's stand together. Let's keep our heads up. And let's remember the man to your left and your right is just as important to the fight. Love you.
Gaddy over here dropping bars. I think when it comes to this topic, I'm appreciative of it because it's near and dear to my heart. One, because it's how I'm trying to live. Like, none of us are perfect, and that's not an excuse, but it's something that I'm striving for. I'm striving to be the perfect friend. I'm striving to be the perfect brother. I'm striving to be the perfect husband, father, all these things. And this community gives me the opportunity to talk with like-minded people, to look at comments from like-minded people where I can grow. And that's establishing healthy relationships. And as we establish these healthy relationships, we realize that we can talk about anything, because at the end of the day, it's all about us growing. It's all about us changing behaviors from bad to good. It's all about us seeking his face and seeking to give him glory. So I'm simply appreciative that I've been given the space and opportunity to be in line with you guys and gals. You know what I'm saying. So I'm not even looking like I'm offending anyone. But I'm just appreciative, and I thank you for being that family for me, my cousins out here, where we can have these conversations and dialogue about the topics that most people don't want to even touch. And most people don't want to touch them because it'll make them grow. It'll make them have to change. And if I see something in here where it's like it goes against the standard, then I realized, like, dude, you got to change. And it's only for the better. It's not for me to get in my feelings, but it's to better me. And I appreciate you for allowing this space.
First and foremost, again, because this is Men's Health Awareness Month, I think it's important to understand that the quality of this conversation that we're having here today, it kind of leads to what we understand to be psychological well-being, emotional well-being, and physical well-being. I think that's one of the things that we must keep in mind as we have this conversation. A lot of times we look at certain things and we just look at the talking point and we analyze the talking point, but we don't consider the bigger picture. What is the bigger picture? The bigger picture is the well-being of the individuals that we're talking about. Now, let's make no mistake about it. We're middle age, and I use that term loosely, by the way. We're middle-aged men talking about this, but at one point in time, we were young adolescent boys. So, for those of you who have young adolescent boys, these are great concepts for you to digest and have conversations with those young soon to be men so that they can get to the point of regulating those emotions, igniting their brain housing units so that when they get in situations, they understand how to think properly, how they can move forward and not necessarily be on autopilot like a robot, just haphazardly going through day to day activities, making mistake after mistake after mistake. That's why we take the time to have these conversations. That's why we actually have the community that we have, because we like to further these conversations over the past week. And for those of you who are part of the community, you know I've been pounding and beating the idea of boundaries all week simply because we need to have a better understanding of what boundaries are and how they're supposed to help us. They're not weapons, just like we're not supposed to take our emotions and use our emotions as weapons against everybody else. So with that being said, just join the community. Click on the link, join the community. It's free, it's fun. We talk, we communicate back and forth. We ask questions, we challenge each other. We got a trivia going on right now to end tomorrow morning. And I like to give away prizes. So yes, make sure that you join us on the Total Mindset Shift on the Total Mindset Shift website. Just join the community and come and fellowship with like-minded people continuously every day. Positive information flowing back and forth, uplifting and edifying each other so that everybody can be the best version of themselves. So, with that being said, again, I want to give a shout out to the panel. Again, I appreciate you. Brother Saul, if you're still listening, man, we appreciate you. And again, I need to holler at you real quick because I need you to be a permanent part of the show. Because look, man, you got a unanimous vote. Everybody wants you back, bro. So again, that's just what we do. We find good people. We want them to be a part of the conversation, and he is definitely welcome back. So that being said, everybody have a great rest of your evening. Enjoy yourself, relax, prepare for the weekend. Georgia play at 3:30 tomorrow. I will be there, rain, sleet, or snow. So listen, until we see you guys next week, same time, same channel on the Hearts of Men podcast. Be a blessing and bless somebody else.